Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé, let's watch. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. As I always say, everything that I make on the internet may contain triggering material, so watch with care, truly. There are things that can trigger people, so just be careful if you are sensitive to certain topics. Let's watch.
Questioned you and you lied to my face. You said there was no more things, but there were. You're a liar and a piece of garbage, and forget about me. That's what you said. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like the relationship is over. Like I said, I am not surprised. I just feel bad for Corey. He did lie, and he deserves to have consequences for that. But maybe this is a good thing. I think she was very close to breaking up with him anyway. Having said that, it makes total sense that she's upset. Maybe she'll recover and she'll come around. And because the other thing that I wonder about is behind closed doors, if they have a lot, because we don't see a lot of warmth from Evelin on camera, but maybe behind closed doors, there's a lot of warmth. There seems to be some evidence of that, some clear motivation to be with Corey. So I don't know, if they get back together, maybe we could just hope that that's happening behind the scenes. I guess, what am I really hoping for? Given what we've seen from the two of them, Corey deserves a relationship, whether it's with Evelin or Jenny or whoever, in which the person has the same values, has the same love for him, has the same wish for family and marriage and all kids and all that kind of stuff. He deserves that. That's what he wants. And Evelin deserves to live the life that she wants to. There's a possibility that this whole scenario is, all their ups and downs are caused by her wanting to be a free spirit, to not be tied down, to not have kids, to not have marriage, not even necessarily have monogamy. But she is being forced into that by her society or by her expectations, or even kind of pushed into it by Corey. Of course, Corey doesn't seem controlling, but he's maybe very influential in her life or something. We could see a scenario where Evelin never gets married. There's been some characters. I've been watching the other 90 Day Fiancé show. I don't know if I posted those yet. The Love in Paradise, the Caribbean show that's on Discovery Plus. I've been watching that show, and there's a cast member, Kay, a woman from Argentina, I believe, who lives in some tropical place. I'm forgetting where she lives, somewhere in the Caribbean, right? And maybe Panama. And she is a very much of a free spirit. And the guy that's in a relationship with her is really trying to get her to get married. And she's like, look, I'm a free spirit. She basically is saying she's polyamorous, and she doesn't want to be tied down. She doesn't want to have kids. She doesn't want to do the family thing. She doesn't want to go to the States. She likes to live in her Caribbean town and do her thing. And so I can imagine Evelin having a happy life like that, instead of trying to force herself into this confined relationship type that I don't think is very compatible with her. But I don't know.
But it's not. He's not. I always trust him over other people. I always have. But now it's like, I don't know.
So this pain makes total sense. He lied to her, and she's fine. Even if he hadn't lied, she's finding out that, very quickly after breaking up, he was in a pretty, in-depth relationship with another person. And even if he had told her right away, that kind of hurts. He didn't do anything wrong, but you could see how that would hurt someone in her position. So the tears and the pain make sense to me. What's interesting for me watching is she doesn't seem to exhibit this kind of vulnerability or soft side in any other context. We've seen this before. I think last season, I can't remember what was the circumstance, but she was crying, she was upset. And I remember then as well thinking, oh, she does have human emotions, which of course is absurd for me to think that she didn't have human emotions. But I think what this lends itself to is she's very good at putting up walls. And she needs to put up those walls, right? it's similar to, I always think about Mike and Natalie in terms of walls. Like Mike, underneath it all, has this a very, very soft side to him that I think he protects with all the walls. And it would be hard to imagine him crying and saying, I'm so hurt, and, the tears, because of all the walls that he puts up. Some might even think Mike isn't capable of that. And the people, so for all y'all out there, think about someone or a set of people that are very unlikely ever to cry. Maybe they make jokes, or they always have walls up, or they seem really tough. Those people who you have the hardest time imagining being vulnerable and crying are probably desperate for crying more than anyone else you've ever met, and probably have an ocean of tears that are building up ready to be emoted for them, and might not ever happen before they die. Hopefully they do get that opportunity. So I wonder if that's what's happening with Evelin, is that she is so ashamed or untrusting, or hates her own vulnerability or something, that she denies that side of herself and puts up these walls, and then when enough pain happens, we actually get to see it. It's a possibility. Let me know what you think in the comments.
I don't know. It's like I knew these things. I confronted him because this is what I was told, that he had this girlfriend and he's been playing with me the whole time. Like, what is wrong with him?
Well, what's wrong with him is that he was terrified of losing you. It does not justify the lying, but he was so desperate for being in a relationship with you that he was terrified of telling you the truth, because he thought that if he was truthful about it, you'd break up with him. Now, what is so short-sighted is that eventually he would have to come clean, and then she really would leave him, and has.
I just feel like I've been playing someone who never let anyone play her, and Corey has come and just played me real bad.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've been played. Now, it's normal. That's a humiliation trauma, or humiliation feeling of humiliation that is common, if not universal, to a situation like this. But it's interesting that that's what she's focusing on. I feel like I've been played. I've been humiliated. Someone, they're laughing at me. We've heard these kinds of statements from Angela. Angela seems to have a trauma around being made the fool. And I wonder if that's, at least in part, where Evelin's need for walls come from. I don't know. Maybe we'll get some more data.
I just feel disgusted. Like, I don't know why when I asked, he didn't tell me. And just now, after I accepted him, after I'm planning a wedding, is when he decided to tell me more things. Like, I thought everything was laid out and I knew everything, but no.
Yeah, it's gotta hurt. It's like, why wouldn't you tell me from the start? And why, now that we're getting closer to marriage, now you tell me this? It's like, what else is there? Yeah, it's definitely hurtful. I wonder what's going on here, because in this moment, I feel like almost for the very first time, we're seeing the real side of Evelin, a very honest side, maybe a side that Corey sees behind the scenes a lot more often. Which makes me wonder, does she put on a certain bravado, a certain tough exterior when she's in front of the cameras or something? Or maybe all the time, even with Corey? I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if, for Evelin, she has traumas about being bullied and humiliated, and developed early in life a very tough persona, like a mean girl persona almost, because that's the kind of flavor that she has, as a way of protecting herself from being bullied. But what that does is, when you're a mean girl and you're a tough person, no one notices your vulnerabilities, and no one comes to you when you're sad and hurting, and more of your feelings and needs get unmet.
Because I wanted the space and all that, but I honestly thought, okay, this guy is not doing anything that he has said that he will do for us to have a good relationship. He told me he will learn Spanish and everything that he has said. I thought like, okay, maybe if it feels like he's losing me, he's actually gonna put into work for this.
Yikes. I was like, this is what? Then she actually says it outright. Wow. That's a glimpse into a personality right there. I broke up with him and told him that we can both date other people, and essentially kicked him out because I was hoping to motivate him to learn Spanish, because we know the things that she's wanted from him. She's wanted him to learn Spanish. She's wanted him to become more independent, to have his own friends, to have his own life. And I thought that if I broke up with him, that it would motivate him to do those things. Yikes. I mean, ouch.
But he didn't. He went and tried to other girls. He even started a relationship with somebody else. How is that loving me?
Now, maybe she's just in a bad place. He lied to her. That's wrong. And she is understandably hurt and crying. Totally makes sense. And maybe she's just kind of in that state. But are we starting to see the real side of her that we've seen with other characters, other cast members on this show, of tough bravado, but very, very vulnerable inside, and a desperation, almost like a Darcy desperation for love, and then a lot of behaviors that push people away. I don't know, but she is saying, how is it loving me? So let's rewind this, because the logic here is notable.
For us to have a good relationship. He told me he will learn Spanish and everything that he has said. I thought like, okay, maybe if it feels like he's losing me, he's actually gonna put into work for this. But he didn't. He went and tried to other girls. He even started a relationship with somebody else. How is that loving me?
So she is saying in this string of sentences, I thought by breaking up with him and telling him that we could date other people, that he would learn, I mean business, and it would motivate him to love me by learning Spanish and having his own friends and being independent. But instead, he dated another woman. Just think about that logic. Now, maybe she's upset, and she is, when she calms down, which might take some time, and recovers from the lies that he has, done to her, she'll have a more rational point of view. Or are we getting a glimpse into the way that she thinks, which would be consistent with other things that we've seen, which, I don't know what to think about that. It's hard to conceptualize her personality because, one, we don't hear a lot of these one-on-one interviews from her, and two, she tends to come across like she just doesn't like Corey. But when we see this, it's like, oh, she really does, it seems, have a soft spot and really does want a relationship with Corey. So I don't know, I'm just going to have to contemplate this a little bit more. And then to hear this logic behind the walls, in her vulnerable center, this is the way she's thinking, is like, I'm desperate for you to love me. I'm also desperate for you to show me that you can be independent on your own, learning Spanish, having your own friends, having your own job. And I want you to show me that you love me through these things. And I'm going to break up with you. And you're not doing those things, so I'm going to break up with you and hope that you do those things. And then you'll come back to me, and then I can have my special man in my relationship. But then you had a relationship with someone else. It's almost like a surprise, right? That's as I'm speaking it out loud. It's almost like, wait, you have needs as well? I mean, that's mean, but I think that might be part of it. Of, wait, so when I broke up with you, it's almost like, this is going to sound mildly insulting, and I don't mean it that way. A lot of people are like this. It's not the same thing, but it's an analogy. When, there are children who are very young, toddlers, that they don't have what we call object constancy, or they don't mentalize until they are older, maybe a year or two older. Meaning that, that's why peekaboo works, is because when you cover up your face, if they can't see it, it doesn't exist. So if you take the ball and you put it behind your back, or even behind their back, they think the ball is gone. They don't think, oh, I need to go get it. Just because I can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It's like the ball, I can picture, I have a 3D model in my brain of where things are. And even though I can't see it, I know the ball is behind you, that kind of thing. And it's almost like for her, she is like, so if you go away, you just wait for me. Isn't that the way the world works? Is if I break up with you, there are no other people and there's no other women and you don't have needs. Like it's all related to me, right? I don't know though. As I say it out loud, that seems extremely mean to say, but I don't mean it that way. I mean it that there are people who have that point of view, not because they're jerk faces, but because of their own traumas or I don't know, just parenting incursions of attachment incursions of some kind, development incursions of some kind. I don't know. It's interesting to see. I'm kind of glad that we're getting some more, I don't know, vulnerable side to her because one, it humanizes her, and two, I think it gives us a glimpse into maybe her traumas.
I don't see it. I just don't see it.
Now, it's totally normal for someone to feel hurt. Like, wait, I broke up with you, and sure, I broke up with you, but within a very short amount of time, you're having a full-on relationship with someone else. That really hurts. It makes me feel like you didn't really love me. Like you would, like I'm just, dispensable to you. I'm just like nothing. It's like we were an insignificant relation. That's what it feels. That's normal. That's not an advisable interpretation because from the way it looks, Corey was desperate for companionship and yet was pining for Evelin the entire time. But so her feelings along those lines make sense. But those other things she was saying, I think are interesting to chew on, as food for thought.
I don't know why he decided to come back just to screw up my life again. Like, what am I supposed to do now?
I've seen Evelyn get this mad before, but there's only been one other time when she told me to actually physically leave. And that was when I ended up, meeting Jenny and everything like that.
All right, that's interesting. I was wondering about that. So he's saying, yeah, I mean, the last time this happened, she meant it and I left. So maybe this is the end.
And all that. Usually she just says, sleep in the room next door, and we'll and we talk about it later, and usually we resolve our issues. But she doesn't even want me to stay there. She said, leave, leave.
So interesting that we're hearing that they would get in fights a lot, and he's saying, well, usually she just kicks me out of the bedroom and I have to sleep in the other room. I don't know what that says about their relationship. Certainly it points to a fair amount of conflict, but it is notable that he's the one that always has to go. If he's the wrong person, he's doing the wrong things and it justifies him being in the doghouse, figuratively, okay. Or does he have a lot of money that he can just leave and afford places? I don't know. There's some question marks there that I don't have the answers to.
I'll punch him in the face if I see it, so I don't want to see it. I want him to suffer. I hope it's so cold outside. There is a million mosquitoes to bite him.
It's totally normal when you're hurt to have fantasies, not everyone does, of harm to other person. As a therapist, people will tell me these fantasies, and they're a lot more common than we'd like to think. Now, sometimes those fantasies can become extremely destructive. They become motivating to the individual to actually seek revenge on the other person, slashing tires or violence. But it's normal to have that. But it is notable, given everything we've seen, particularly in this episode, that she is having those and she's saying them out loud. Now, maybe if we said, "Are you serious?" she would say, "No, I'm not being serious. I'm just upset." Or is she like, "No, I'm completely on board with. I want him to suffer. I don't want him to be in the house. I want him to be cold. I don't care about his feelings. Even, I hate him. I want him I didn't show this clip, but she said, if I see him, I want to punch him in the face. So again, given the full breadth of all the behavior we've seen from Evelin, this is, it's interesting to think about what's going on here in terms of empathy, in terms of entitlement, in terms of aggression that she might have experienced. Usually people don't have these kinds of attitudes in a vacuum. They usually learn these kinds of things. So it's interesting to think about. And then when you think about her sisters and the way they were, it's hard to know what their full personality is like, but the kinds of aggressive behaviors we've seen from them. And people have commented below and emailed in who are from Ecuador and said, people from Ecuador are the nicest people on the planet. And I cringe when I watch how Evelin and her sisters, the way that they behave towards Corey, because it's not representative of how Ecuadorian people are, which I absolutely could imagine to be true. But we just have to wonder, Evelin's history, the parents, how they were. The parents looked extremely nice, but we know that we cannot judge a book by its cover.
They say, fool me once, it's on you. Fool me two, it's on me.
More of that talk of I'm the fool and I've been humiliated. So I'm wondering if that's a theme in her traumas and a reason for her motivations and her defensiveness and her acting like she doesn't need anyone, because she really wants to make sure that no one ever considers her to be the fool. No one ever considers her to be humiliated. She will humiliate other people before she gets humiliated, which that defensiveness can cause a lot of problems in one's life, which you could imagine. All right, well, that is it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.